A lot of you have been asking for it, and it's here. This is what's on my iPhone. I just did what's on my iPad and covered all the productivity apps that I use. So I'm not gonna rehash the stuff that I talked about in that video. So if you see that I skipped over an app or something, it's because it's in that video. So I'll link to that and everything else I mentioned in the description below. In this video, I'm gonna focus on iPhone specific apps, features, and widgets. This video is sponsored by Ekster. The custom lock screens were a big feature in iOS 16, so let's start there. I have 3 lock screens, a personal one that is tied to my personal focus, a work one that is tied to my work focus, and a default one because iOS requires you to have a lock screen that isn't tied to a focus. The first widget on my personal screen is Carrot Weather. Carrot Weather is an amazing weather app made by an indie developer. Its lock screen widget shows me the current temperature and the high and low for the day. On the home screen, I'm able to add a bit more info, like if it's gonna rain and how much. What I like about the home screen widget is that you can change the background color. So if you want all dark mode widgets, you can have that. Activity is next up. I have this on the lock screen as a reminder to move and work out more. Lately, I've been really busy with videos and ironically moving, but my plan is to get back into working out once things have gotten settled. Launcher is the third widget in this row. Launcher is an app you can use to quickly launch websites, apps, and most importantly, shortcuts. There is no shortcut lock screen widget, so I set this up to launch a shortcut that sets the output of audio to my HomePods in my office and then plays the current podcast in my queue from Overcast. I use this when I'm cleaning up my office or filming B-roll. Launcher is a really clever app that you could do a lot with. I should probably do a full video on it in the future. The fourth widget is Obscura. This is a camera app. Obscura gives you a ton of controls of your iPhone camera. This includes stuff like shooting in RAW, ISO, shutter speed, and white balance. I like using these for nice photos that I want a bit more control over. The iPhone camera app is good, but it's very opinionated. Obscura's UI works with how my brain thinks of a camera, so I'm able to make changes really quickly. Obscura also has support for features like live photos if that's something you really like. If you're interested in photography, check out Obscura or another camera app I like, Halide. They both let you control really specific settings of the iPhone's camera like ISO and shutter speed and stuff like that. And that information translates over to professional cameras, so you'll kind of understand what those settings do when you move over to that. With the Obscura widget, I'm able to tap on it right from the lock screen and it jumps right into the camera app. This gives me a quick way to be able to take a nice raw photo on my iPhone, just like how there is the standard camera app button on the lock screen. Fantastical is the calendar app in the top spot for both of my lock screen pages. I talked in the What's on My iPad video about how this app is currently on the chopping block for me because of the drastic rise in subscription pricing and how I just don't use a calendar that much. For this top spot, it's really limited on what apps can go there. For me, a calendar app makes the most sense. Because I don't use a calendar every day, I often don't check it, and I've been known to miss a few appointments because of that. I also use the home screen widget so that I can have a big date right on the home screen. I also use this to see appointments coming up in the next few days so I don't miss anything. I've missed enough appointments that I have to have multiple systems in place to make sure I don't miss appointments anymore. I really like Fantastical's design, support for natural language input, and calendar set support. I'm not sure if I will keep my subscription going in March when it's up, but what I can say is if you do use a calendar a lot, and I mean like if you live out of your calendar, it's totally worth it. The first widget on my work lock screen is for things. This shows my tasks that are due today. What I like about this is I have an iPhone 14 Pro Max, so I have the always on display. I keep that next to me at my desk while I work. This way I can see the next 3 tasks I need to do in that day. I also have the Things widget on my home screen for the same reason. But given that there's more space on the home screen widget, tasks don't get cut off and you can fit a bit more there. I also really like that the widget there has a new task button that jumps you right into the app and the new task screen. Timery is the second widget on this lock screen page. Timery is my time tracking app and the front end service for Toggle. The lock screen widget shows how I've been spending my time in that day. This helps me hold myself accountable for how I'm spending my time. On my iPhone home screen, I have 4 pages. 2 are visible for my personal focus, 3 are visible for my work focus, and the 4th is for something else I will talk about in just a bit. But there is one page that is just visible in my work focus that is not there for my personal focus, and that is my Timery page. I have widgets here for quickly starting timers. I also have 2 widgets in a stack. One is for seeing how I'm spending my time that day, and another is for seeing how I'm spending my time that week. I only have this page visible while I'm in my work focus because I only track work time. I don't ever track personal stuff. If you're curious about how to set this stuff up, I've actually made 2 videos, one about setting up focus and another one about timer and toggle. I will link all those in the description below. I by no means think everyone should be time tracking. It's a very specific thing to do, and I do it because I want to hold myself accountable. Being self-employed, I want to make sure I'm spending my time appropriately. One thing I complained about in my iOS 16 walkthrough is the fact that you can only have 1 row of widgets on the lock screen. This is where Shelf comes in. This uses the new Live Activities feature to give you another row of widgets. In Shelf, you can build your widget out. I set mine to give me access to 4 of my most used shortcuts. But you can use this to launch apps, place photos, or add text to your lock screen. The shortcuts I'm using are Mode Cut for changing focus and device states, Audio Cut for music and podcast playback, Capture Cut for adding new notes and tasks quickly, and Snippet Cut, which works as a text snippet manager. Once you've built out your shelf, and there are a lot of configurations and options like color and style, but once you've built it, hit Launch. This will turn that widget into a live activity on your lock screen. From here, I can just select one of the shortcuts and it'll run. It's really handy to have. I just wish I could move the live activities up on the screen because I do accidentally trigger them sometimes. This video is sponsored by Ekster. Ekster is the maker of the best slim, quick access wallet I've ever used. These come in a few different styles. These can hold up to 12 cards and some cash, but it kind of depends on how thick the cards you have are. You load up your cards by sliding them in up at the top, and when you need access to them, you just press this button and they fan out. This way you can grab the card that you need. So I've been using the MagSafe wallet for the last few years now, and one of the things I really don't like about it is if I need to get to the card that's in the back, I have to take out all the cards that are in it. That is not an issue with this. I can quickly grab my back card, which is my Costco card. The other issue with the MagSafe wallet is it only held 3 cards, and that was really starting to become a problem for me. This can hold a lot more. If you're somebody that loses your wallet or misplaces it quite a bit, Ekster has you covered. There's a couple of different options. First, there is a tracking card, and it's solar powered, so you just leave it out. A full charge will get you about 2 months worth of use out of it. But the other option, and this is the one I personally will use, if you're like me, you already have some AirTags lying around. You can get a special card holder that lets you put an AirTag into it. This way you can just use the Find My app. Go check out the Ekster wallet. I'll put a link in the description below so it's really easy to get to, and use code Lawley, Lawley, at checkout to get 25% off with their New Year's sale. Now their New Year's sale ends on January 24th, so go quickly. Let's move on to some of the apps and widgets on my home screen. Like I said, I have 2 main pages that are almost always on. The first page has all of my work stuff. The second page has a lot of personal and entertainment stuff. But that 4th page I mentioned a minute ago is a blank page. This is for my sleep focus. I had a really bad habit of waking up in the middle of the night and grabbing my phone. And I would see apps and stuff and I would just start going through them and work. This is a terrible habit. So setting up this blank screen and tying it to my sleep focus actually really helped with this. So now if I wake up in the middle of the night and grab my phone, I don't see anything but what's in the dock. Drafts is an app I talked about in my iPadOS walkthrough. In that video, I talked about how I use it as a scratch pad and the templates feature and all that stuff. But on my iPhone, I use it slightly differently. It's a way to capture something quickly when I'm out and about. Drafts by design is really fast. When you open it, it defaults to a new draft if you haven't used the app in more than a minute. This makes it really easy to jot something down quickly and come back to it later. If whatever I wrote down is something I want to keep, I can use the Actions feature to send it to Craft, my note-taking app, or Things, my task manager. In the Carrot Weather widget stack that I already talked about, I have another widget in here from an app called Lumy. This is an app that you can use for tracking sunrise and sunset. Extremely handy for photographers, but it's also one of the best looking widgets out there. And the app itself is also beautiful. This is one of those widgets I don't need on my home screen for any particular reason, but it's so good looking, it's hard not to have. So I put it in a stack and turn off auto rotate because Carrot Weather is more useful for my day to day. Parcel starts off the next stack of widgets. Parcel is a delivery tracking app. I'm in the process of moving and oh boy, have I been ordering a lot of stuff. It's really nice to be able to keep track of what's coming in on what day. What I like about Parcel is that I can automatically have anything I ordered from Amazon added right into the app by connecting my Amazon account. Parcel also works really well with FedEx, which is something not all delivery tracking apps do. The next widget under Parcel is TV Forecast. I love this app. It shows the air date for upcoming TV shows you've added. I'm a big user of the Up Next feature in the Apple TV app, but it doesn't always get new seasons of shows. It also doesn't support Netflix. So I use TV Forecast to see when shows that I watch are airing next. Up Ahead is an app that tracks important upcoming dates. For example, I have my move in here. Before that, it was our family Disneyland trip. Up Ahead has a great widget that just shows the next thing happening and how many days away it is. This app is beautifully designed. The last widget in the stack is the battery widget. I really like this because it's an easy way to see the battery life of my AirPods and any other connected devices. This widget stack is the only stack that I have Smart Rotate on. Because there are so many widgets with a variety of information, I find it useful here. Smart Rotate does a good job at always showing me a relevant widget. The last widget on my iPhone is for Anybox. I talked in my What's on my iPad video that Anybox is a bookmarking and read it later app. I use this to store any and all links I want to check out later. I use this widget to pull from my Read and Watch Later smart folder in the app and randomly grab stuff from this list. That way, when I have a minute to kill, I can just open up something from this widget and read it or watch it. Overcast is my podcast player of choice. In fact, it was the subject of one of the first videos I ever made over 6 years ago. It has so many great features and it is clearly cared about in its development. But the one feature that just really sticks out to me is Smart Speed. I don't have a ton of time to listen to podcasts anymore. So what this does is it speeds up the silent parts and saves you a ton of time. In fact, over the years that I have been using Overcast, it has saved me 448 hours using the Smart Speed feature. Overcast's queue feature is really awesome as well. I can mark topical tech shows to always show up on top. That way, if a new news show shows up, I can listen to it while it's still relevant. The last page on my iPhone is the Today view. I have 2 shortcut widgets here. These are the same shortcuts that are on my iPad home screen. These are all really super useful shortcuts, and I'm working on a video about the shortcuts I use in my day-to-day or my everyday, and that, of course, will include all of these. I'm actually kind of surprised the Today view is still there since the new widget style has completely taken off, but it's kind of nice to have a page of shortcuts that are always there no matter what focus I'm in. So those are the apps that are on my home screen and lock screen. Again, if I skipped anything, it's because I already covered it in the What's on my iPad, and I just don't want to rehash things and waste everyone's time. But I do have a few more apps that I want to talk about that aren't on my home screen. The first is Pushcut. I did a whole video on this one in the past that I can link to. This is a way of making custom notifications and tying them to shortcuts. I use the web app Zapier to have it watch my YouTube channel. Anytime there is a new video, I get a notification from Pushcut that I can tap on, and that runs a shortcut that takes that video and turns it into a blog post for my website. There's so much you can do with Pushcuts, and if you have a spare device, you can even turn it into an automation server. Sofa is an app I use to track movies and TV shows I want to watch along with games I want to play. There are a ton of features in Sofa, but I mostly stick to the category list. It's really easy to add something into Sofa you want to watch or play later, and it pulls the metadata from the web so you get things like a good thumbnail. Gametrack is another tracking app I use. I've been using this to keep up with games that are coming out that I want to play. You can do this by searching for a game and adding it to one of your buckets. I used my wish list. But I'm also starting to use Gametrack to keep track of games that I've played and what I've thought of them. You can mark games as whatever state you left them in, whether it's completed or even abandoned, and then rate them on a 10-star scale. I want to do more with video games this year, both publicly and privately, and Gametrack is helping me organize that. Makepass is an app that solved a very particular problem for me. So my gym still uses physical cards with barcodes you have to scan every time you walk in. With Makepass, what I was able to do was I was able to scan that barcode and turn it into a digital card on my phone. But on top of that, I was able to add it to the Wallet app. So now when I walk into the gym, I could just double press the lock button, scan it, boom, Bob's your uncle. I don't have to carry around that physical card anymore. Miximum lets you create smart playlists for Apple Music, which for some reason is still not a feature in the music app. It gives you a bunch of options for filters that you could pick from. You could tell Miximum that the music must match all of those filters or any of those filters, and then boom, you can build your playlist from that. And then once you've built your playlist, you add it back to the music app. It's really nice to have. So that's what's on my iPhone. I want to hear from you all, your favorite apps that you have installed on your phone. My thanks to Ekster for sponsoring this video. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day.